Packers received some great NFC North news after week one is in the books. I'm going to break that down for you guys here in a moment. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second to do so. We all know Jordan Love is going to be out anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. Nobody quite knows the timetable on that, but the answer we all want as Packer fans is, man, when Jordan Love returns, what is the record going to look like? Is there going to be this insurmountable mountain to climb to be able to make a push to get into the playoffs? Well, the encouraging and great news for the Packers is that the rest of the NFC North did not look good after week one. I'm going to break that down. Let's start with the Minnesota Vikings, a team that, in my opinion, looked the best out of all the teams in the NFC North. We know they're not going to be able to keep that up. It just so happened that they played one of the worst teams in the league. I think that, in my opinion, top three bottom dwellers. When you take a look at the Giants, you take a look at the Carolina Panthers and the Tennessee Titans, a team who the Chicago Bears played. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But Sam Darnold is a guy that is just a tough dude. I think he played linebacker in high school. And this guy really hasn't had a fair shake in the NFL. He walks into a great situation. And what I mean by that is he's got a duo of receivers that's quite amazing. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Addison got hurt in the game. We don't know what his timetable is going to be like or the severity of the injury yet, but Sam Darnold, 19 of 24, 208 yards, so just barely over 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he had a passer rating of 113, by far the best of the quarterbacks in the NFC North. Aaron Jones complimented him very well. Not a shocker to us Packer fans out there. 14 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. And then he had his hand in on the passing game just a bit. 2 catches for 15 yards. The Minnesota Vikings are going to be a team that is going to be a tough out. I certainly don't see them doing well over the next handful of games. And when I say the handful of games, I'm talking about Jordan Love is going to be out potentially 2 to 6 weeks. So let's take a look at what the Minnesota Vikings upcoming schedule looks like. They play the 49ers. That's a loss. Then they play Houston. That's another loss. Then they play Green Bay at Green Bay. That is going to be an interesting game because Jordan Love more than likely won't be back. And what the quarterback situation looks like in Green Bay at that point in time, it really doesn't matter. I think the Packers are talented enough to beat this Minnesota Vikings team, even without Jordan Love. And then they've got the Jets. So I don't see the Minnesota Vikings potentially, I see them potentially even going 0-4, maybe one win of those games over the next 4 games for the Minnesota Vikings. That is my take on that. Then you've got the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams, and us Packer fans are just left laughing. Caleb Williams did not look good at all. Certainly, I'm sure left a lot of question marks in even Chicago Bears fans' heads of like, oh my gosh, here we go. Is this dude going to be like another Justin Fields? Well, the problem with getting a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who's got that stardom or just aura about him, and the rest of the NFL and everybody already deeming this dude a superstar before he even steps out on the football field. Well, he's in Chicago, and Chicago's notorious for having some bad quarterbacks. How did he look? Well, in week one against the Tennessee Titans, they almost get blanked at halftime 17-3. This is a Chicago Bears team that the bright spot is their defense. They had a top 5 defense last year, and this is a Chicago Bears team where the defense is probably going to end up carrying them into wins like we saw against the Tennessee Titans, where they come up with a defensive touchdown, and then they also come up with a special teams touchdown. But man, Caleb Williams did not look good. 14 of 29, under 100 yards passing, 93 yards. And when you've got weapons like Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, and Cole Kmet, you should be putting up at least 100 yards. That is inexcusable. A passer rating of 55.7. I know it's just his first NFL appearance, but man, that was awful. The rest of the NFL saw his performance on display, and it was not a good one. DeAndre Swift is not as good of a running back as a lot of Chicago Bears fans thought. 10 carries, 30 yards, and their offensive line is suspect. I know it was supposed to be much improved, but the Chicago Bears, their schedule over the next 5 games is Houston next week, Colts, then the Rams, Panthers, and Jacksonville. they could lose at least 3 of those games, if not 4 of those games. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Let's go to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, in fact, before the game came out in the NFC, they surpassed the San Francisco 49ers as a Super Bowl favorite, which I think is a joke. I think the Detroit Lions are super good, and I think they are somewhat legit, not what everybody is deeming them. Jared Goff did not look like a great quarterback, in my opinion. Jared Goff, 18 of 28, just over 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 85. And if you watch the game, you were wondering where on earth was St. Brown. And if you can't get that guy involved, that's a problem because the Rams secondary, they're decent. I wouldn't say they're shut down good by any means. 3 catches, 13 yards. That is inexcusable. Laporta really didn't have that great of a game either. 4 catches, 45 yards on Jameson Williams. Really had that kind of that breakout game. Lions have a lot of aspirations, high aspirations for this dude. I think he's going to be a good a number 2 receiver there in Chicago, complimentary wide receiver to St. Brown. Now, Jared Goff is the question mark. He almost threw a couple picks late in the game. That is a game that they could have easily lost, and that's also a game that they were without Puka Nacua, who got hurt in the game. So Detroit Lions defense is kind of the what saved them in this game, whereas their offense is usually going to be par to saving them. I don't see the Detroit Lions doing incredibly well this season. However, if you look at the next 5 games, they've got an easy schedule. They play Tampa Bay. That could be kind of tough. I think Tampa Bay is way overrated. Then you've got Arizona, which that could go either way. Arizona is nobody quite knows what that situation is. You got Seattle. They always got to have a tough time with Seattle for whatever reason. Then they got a bye week and then they play Dallas. That's a tough game. I see the Lions losing that one, maybe the Seattle game as well. So let's take a look at the Packers. Now they're going to be without Jordan Love over the foreseeable future, 2 to 6 weeks. They've got Indianapolis coming up, then Tennessee. Indianapolis is going to be an interesting one. They handled a Richardson style quarterback very well in Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was stopped. He wasn't a run threat against the Packers defense. That was the bright side of the Packers defense. I saw them handling that. Jeff Hafley planned accordingly very well for Jalen Hurts' run attack. Tennessee Titans is going to be a victory there. I think that's going to be an easy win for the Tennessee Titans over the Tennessee Titans. Then they play Minnesota Vikings. That's going to be a tough game. They're going to be a tough out, whether they're with Jordan Love or without. But I do see the Packers, even without Jordan Love, getting past the Minnesota Vikings because it is in Green Bay. And I just think there's just going to be, with Aaron Jones coming back to Green Bay, I just think there's going to be a lot of energy there. Now, whether or not Jordan Love returns for the Rams game, if he does not, that's a game certainly that they lose because that is a decent Rams team. And are they going to be with Puka Nacua or not? Time is going to tell. But leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not as scared or worried about the Packers' foreseeable future without Jordan Love as it stands. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Go Pack Go.